Hello, today we're going to be making a lasagna. Now the recipe book that you have says to use 1 large onion, which I've got here, and we haven't actually added any other vegetables if you were cooking it in school because we don't have enough time to prepare everything, but if we're cooking at home we've got much more time. So I'm also going to add a pepper and a courgette to my lasagna. You can add anything you want to, carrots, you could put a bit of garlic in, celery, anything that needs using up in your fridge, or if you wanted to you could just add some frozen mixed vegetables to increase your vegetable intake for the day. So remove those from the board a minute and we're going to chop our onion up. Now I'm going to cut the tip off of my onion like that, and I'm going to cut the root off of the onion, and then I'm going to peel off the brown layers. They're tough and you certainly don't want to eat those. So get your nail underneath, peel it all the way round like that. And now I'm going to cut the onion. So we're going to use our bridge hold. I'm going to put the bridge over the onion and we're going to put the knife through the bridge and cut our onion in half like that, which will give us 2 pieces. Then we're going to put a flat side on the chopping board. We're going to use our bridge grip again and we're going to come through the bridge about 5 or 6 times across this way, like that. There, if you can manage to keep the onion together, you can then turn it round, hold on to the onion over here, and then just dice your onion up. If you can't hold on to it, it doesn't matter, it will just take slightly longer to chop each piece up. So again, bridge hold, come through 4 or 5 times. Whoops, it's happened again. This is a very slippery onion. All the way to the end, turn it round, and then come across this way. So we've got our diced onion. So I'm going to put a little bit of oil in the pan. The recipe book says 2 tablespoons. You don't need to measure it, just do it by eye. Into the pan. And then I'm going to put some heat into the pan, turn it on to high, and add my onion. And while that begins to cook, I'm going to prepare the next vegetable. So I'm going to prepare my pepper. So again, bridge hold, use your knife to cut through so we get 2 halves. And then you can either use your thumb and pull the core out of the pepper like that. Pull out all the seeds and these little white bits. That's one way of doing it. Give it a tap, get the rest of the seeds out like that. Or you can use your knife and you can cut down towards the board, never into your hand, always down towards the board. Cut the core out that way. That's the way that I tend to do it, but it's completely up to you how you do yours. And then I'm going to hold on to my pepper. I'm just going to slice, you can see I've got a few seeds hidden under there. Slice my pepper across like this. Then as I come towards the end, I'm going to hold the pepper here with my claw grip to keep my fingers well away from the pepper and the knife, round like this, and come across again to dice it up like that. So you do the same with the other half of the pepper. So come across like that, claw grip towards the end, and then try and keep all the pieces together like that. Cut across like this, and then add your pepper to the pan with the onion. Give it a little stir. Now you can hear it's beginning to hiss, so that means there's lots of heat in the pan. So I'm going to just turn it down from 14 or very high, number 12 on my cooker, just so that continues to cook, and I'm going to chop my courgette up. So I'm going to top and tail it, which means cutting off both ends, and then I'm going to use my bridge grip and I'm going to cut through the middle of the courgette to cut it in half like that. Put my flat side of the courgette to the board, and then I'm going to come across and chop my courgette up. Now you might find it easier just to chop one piece at a time like that. That's fine, just going to take you a bit longer. Same with this one. Like that. And then add those to the pan. And then I'm going to leave those vegetables to cook. Now, Mrs. Halloran's recipe says to cook the onion for 2 minutes, but because I've got a few more vegetables in there, I'm going to leave it to cook for probably about 10 minutes, just so the vegetables really become soft and the onion becomes translucent, and then we're ready to add the next ingredients. So my vegetables have been frying off for 10 minutes and they look lovely now. Sort of, the courgette's just beginning to brown. And now I'm going to add my corn. So I'm using corn mince. You can use corn mince or lamb or beef mince or whatever else your family prefer. Just going to tip it in. So I've got a 500-gram bag here. I'm going to tip it all in and just gently mix it in. So I'm going to bring the vegetables from the outside to the middle like that, and that stops you spraying everything over the edge of the pan and having lots of clearing up to do. Now, if you're using meat, you'll notice that some of the fat comes out of the meat and adds some more sort of moisture to your pan. But if you're using corn, it's very dry, and you may well find that you need to add a little bit of liquid, just a little bit of water that I'm going to do, to stop the pan being too dry, and then the corn might burn on the bottom. So, nice high heat again because we've added something cold to the pan. We're going to cook that for a couple of minutes now. So if you're cooking with meat, you just need to make sure that your meat has gone brown before you move on to the next stage. So next, number 2 on your recipe book is to add the tomatoes. So we've got a can of chopped tomatoes going in there, like that. Going to crumble in a stock cube. So here's my stock cube. Stock cubes come in different shapes and sizes. Some of them have writing on them. Some of them come in a little plastic tub with a peel-off lid. So this one here, I'm just going to crumble that in a little bit to help it absorb, like that. Like my fingers. And then we're going to add the herbs and the seasoning. So, mixed herbs, you'll recognise these. We use these at school a lot. They're Mrs. Halloran's favourite thing. So I'm going to put a teaspoon of herbs in, like that. Nice generous teaspoon of herbs. And some seasoning. So I'm going to put some ground black pepper in. You can put as much pepper in as you like. I'm not going to add any more salt because I think stock cubes have enough salt in them already. And then I'm just going to gently mix that again. So bringing it from the outside in towards the middle so we don't shoot it over the edge of the pan, like that. And then our recipe book says we can add a little bit of water if required. You might find if you're actually cooking with meat that you've got enough liquid in there now, but because I'm using corn, I'm going to put a little bit more water in, like that. And then number 3 tells us to bring it to the boil and to cover it, and then to leave it to simmer for 20 minutes. So I need to get my lid. Put my lid on the top like that. Turn it down. We don't want it burning on the bottom. You can check it occasionally. I'm going to set my timer for 20 minutes and just occasionally I'm going to give it a stir to make sure it's not sticking to the bottom of the pan. So while my lasagna mix is cooking, I'm going to make my topping. So if your parents or anyone that you live with at home make lasagna, they may well make a white sauce from milk and flour and cheese and a bit of fat. But we're going to make something that's much easier for you to cope with in school and at home as well. So we've got our bowl, and into the bowl we're going to put 250 grams of Greek yoghurt. So I've set my scales to 0, and I'm going to put in 250 grams, it's quite a lot, of Greek yoghurt. And then I can take my bowl off the scales, and I'm going to put an egg. Crack 1 egg into the bowl as well. Put the shell in the bin, and then the last ingredient is 100 grams of grated cheese. I'm going to grate 150 grams because I need an extra 50 grams to go on the top of the finished dish. So I'm going to use the large holes on the grater because it's much quicker that way. Keep my fingers well out of the way and grate my cheese. So you can put your fingers up inside the grater to scrape the cheese out, but don't rub down the sharp edges because you'll cut yourself. So I bring my bowl back. I'm going to put 2/3 of the cheese in. I'm going to do it by eye. I don't need to be very accurate. So I've got about 50 grams of cheese left on my board for later on. I've got my bowl. I'm going to put a little bit of seasoning in. I'm not going to put any more salt in because cheese has a lot of salt in already. So I'm just going to put a little bit of black pepper in. And then I'm going to mix these ingredients together. Make sure you break the yolk of the egg. Mix them round together like that, and then once my mix is ready and I've layered my lasagna, I can put this sauce on top. So my meat mix has finished cooking now. The 20 minutes is up. I'm going to take the lid off, and then I've got myself a tin here to put my lasagna in. So sometimes you might want to use a china or sort of ceramic tray. Sometimes you could use a metal one. It just depends what is the right size for this particular recipe. So to start layering it, we're going to put half of our mixture in the bottom of the tin. So you can do this by eye. Spoon it in till you've got half in the bottom. Spread it out like that. There, I think that's about half now. Smooth it out. And then I'm going to use half of my lasagna sheets. So that's 3 lasagna sheets. I'm going to layer over the meat like that. And then I'm going to add the rest of my meat mix on top of those. So now I can pour that in like that. Looking good. Spread it out. You make sure you cover all of the lasagna pasta up, and the moisture that comes out of the meat will help to soften the dried pasta like that. And then I'm going to put the last 3 sheets of lasagna pasta over the top like that. So there we have it, it's ready for the topping. So we get the bowl that's got our topping in it and pour it onto the pasta. Give the bowl a good scrape, you don't want to waste any ingredients. And now we just spread this nice and evenly all over the top of your lasagna until all of the pasta is covered, like that. And now we've got one last job to do, which is just to sprinkle the rest of the grated cheese all over the top of the lasagna, like that. And then I'm going to put that in my hot oven. Remember, we set the oven to 180 degrees at the beginning, and I'm going to cook it for 30 minutes until the top of my lasagna is lovely and golden brown. So this is what your lasagna should look like after 30 minutes of cooking. See, it's lovely and golden brown and just ready to eat. So I hope you enjoy it, and we look forward to hearing about the ingredients you've added to your lasagnas and seeing some pictures on Google Classroom. Thank you, bye bye.